Hello everyone, welcome to the next Storware Academy, and today I will present our next solution called KODO for Cloud. So what is the KODO for Cloud and what it does is the enterprise class backup and recovery for both Microsoft and Office 365 of course. So let's start with a brief introduction and a few slides. So I'll present why we have a need to protect the Microsoft 365 environments and how we achieve this by using the Storware KODO for Cloud. Then I will go and present the live demo. So let's go. My name is Paweł Mączka and I'm CTO and VP at the Storware. So first we should answer the question why we actually should protect the Microsoft 365 data. First of all, you need to understand that the Microsoft itself saying that they are responsible to giving you the best SLA from the availability point of view. But the owner of the data and the protector of the data, it's you itself. So it means that you need to find the best way how to achieve the data protection, backup, and archival features using the Office 365. Now, of course, Office and Microsoft gives you the tools to make it happen. But honestly, in most cases, companies like you looking for some external third-party vendors which are only dedicated in this area. One of these vendors are, of course, Storware. So the next part is the compliance. So you need to be aware that if you're talking about the compliance, maybe you or your company would like to come back to the data that was accessible or was used a few years ago. By default, Microsoft gives you the 30 days option to coming back. So if you're looking for the long-term retention and for the long-term storing your data, definitely you should use the third-party tool to do it. Of course, the next part is the cloud storage outages. The Microsoft gives you the best from the availability point of view, but you need to be aware that what if there will be some outages? What if my Office 365, Microsoft 365 environment will be not available for the next, let's say, few days? How can I access this data outside the Microsoft cloud? So you need to be aware that if you are part of the Microsoft 365 ecosystem, you're one of the 200 million users that are using today this solution. So we've seen the significant growth in this area. Actually, you can see on the slide that in Q1, Microsoft said that they reached over 200 millions with the 25% growth. And we have roughly about 35 million subscribers worldwide. So let's talk about the KODO for Cloud. We have two options, cloud to cloud or cloud to on-prem. In most cases, we advise to take your data from the cloud to on-premise installation. Why? Because you need to have your own packages of your data fully secured and be fully independent from the cloud itself. Next thing is that we're proposing to storing the data on a file system or the NFS backup repositories. This is the easiest way how to implement and how to achieve the backup and recovery goals here. You will see the option to restore to the local repository or to the Microsoft 365 cloud itself. So your data can be retrieved and come back to the also on-prem or to the cloud. What type of the different services we supporting today? We have Exchange Online mailboxes, Exchange Online calendars, contacts, OneDrive for business, and of course, in the next few weeks, we will introduce the SharePoint. Later on, we're planning to have a Teams. So we'll have all of the necessary services protected by the KODO for Cloud. So let's talk about the different components that we have in a KODO itself. The first component is the KODO Cloud Agent. And the KODO Cloud Agent is actually responsible to connecting to the Office 365, Microsoft 365 cloud, and it gets and receives the data using the Graph API. So this is the major tool and the hub between our server, our data storing on-prem or in the cloud, and the Microsoft 365. The agent is crucial if it will talk about the scalability and if we'll talk about how many files we can get in sort of amount of time that we're planning in our backup window. So we have an agent. Then we have a server, and the server itself is collecting all of the metadata and it's storing the data itself. So the server is the orchestrator, is also the management part. So when you will go into the UI, where you can, manage and orchestrate all of the data, you will use the server part. And also the server gives you the ability to have a full RESTful API for the third-party integration. And hopefully you will see that it's quite easy and intuitive for the most of the administration that you're using the KODO for cloud environment. And the third part is the backup repository. So we have an agent, we have a KODO server, and we have our repository where we store in the data. And as I said before, we can use the native file system formats. So any file system that will be mounted in our server, which will be visible from the server side, it can be the data can be written and read from this repository. And we have a few, let's say, most recommended technologies. We call it flavors. One of them is to use native deduplication and compression method via a virtual data optimizer. It's a video or K-video technology that you are using in CentOS or Red Hat Enterprise Linux. And the second one is using one of the deduplicators. Our, let's say, favorite option is to use the data domain as one of the dedup engines that can be attached via the NFS protocol. So let's go deep dive into the architecture here. So I mentioned about the cloud agent, server, and the file system. You can see on the screen that we have Microsoft 365 Cloud. This agent is actually taking the data from the cloud itself. So let's go deep dive into the architecture. You will see here that we have this 365 Microsoft, and as I said, the agent itself is communicating the 365 Microsoft with the Graph API, taking the data and putting directly into the local FS or the NFS sharing to the disk. We have a KODO server, and the KODO server is dispersed into the two different components. The first one is the catalog metadata. So we're using MariaDB to achieve and storing all of the metadata. And as I said before, HTML5, AngularJS via RESTful API management. So quite easy to manage, orchestrate. And the second option, we get rid of the typical file system, and we give them, for example, data domain as a major data bucket where we will store the data. And of course, this data domain need to create the NFS, but also we can use the ddboostfs plugin to doing a dedup actually on the backup agent itself and sending only the dedup data to the data domain. So it's quite, hopefully it's quite understandable for you. So it's quite straightforward architecture. We have an agent, we have a server, and the different backup repositories that we can store. So here I created the 5 simple steps how you should start the journey with the KODO for Cloud. So first of all, you should log in to the KODO for Cloud UI. Then you should go to the settings, click on the configuration. Here you add in the organization, Office 365, Microsoft 365 organization itself, by providing the credential, or it's next option to do it. Without putting the credential, you can create the application on the Azure portal, then put all of the information like tenant ID, secret ID, and the other things that is necessary to add the tenant itself. It's a manual way to do it. So we have 2 options how to add the organization to the KODO, auto and the manual. Then After we adding the organization into the KODO, then we need to just synchronize users in the users menu. So after synchronization, you will see all of the users which using and attached to the licensed. So these users which actually can reach the data and can, let's say, utilize the Office 365 services. After that, we are recommended to create a policy. So the user need to be attached to the specific policy. On a KODO for Cloud, you can have multiple policies, and each policy can have different SLAs. For us, the SLA is actually service, which will be attached to the specific policy. So here you can see the Exchange Online calendar, mailbox, OneDrive, and the contacts. As I said, SharePoint will be in the near future. And here you have the option to put the retention time. It can be set up in days, on months, on even in years, and how many versions we would like to keep on each policy. And we need to remember each user is attached to the specific policy. User cannot be assigned to the multiple policies. Always it's the one-to-one relation. Okay, after that, we need to create a job, and the job actually is giving us the option to automate and schedule where we should actually and which users we should protect in which backup window. Our recommendation, it will be do a backup once a day. You need to keep in mind that the first always is the full, then we have an incremental forever. The Graph API and the Microsoft 365 giving us the information what actually data has changed since the last backup that we made by KODO for Cloud. And after we doing the jobs, after we protecting our data, our users, we have quite easy access. So we just go in a user list to the specific users. We're choosing the services that we protect in, like Mailbox or the OneDrive. And you can see here that you can easily reach and you can restore the data to the same user, but you can also migrate the data between the users. So in this scenario, we took some user and we restoring this data to the different one, even to the different location. We called another path. Okay, so last functionality before I will go to the live demo and present the software is that KODO itself is also prepared and ready to be part of the backup as a service solution. So if you are a managed service provider or you have a really large organization and you would like to divide your organization into the maybe different tenants or the different geolocation logical entities, you can do it in a KODO by adding the organization as a super user. We call it KODO admin. So you can have a multiple organizations, and in each organization you can actually add the multiple organization from the Microsoft 365. So you can have a multiple organization with the multiple organization inside. I know it sounds a little, and you can feel a little bit confused, but in short, we have a multi-tenancy feature with the full billing, allows you to build the backup as a service solution based of the protecting Office 365 data to on-prem or cloud to cloud. Also, before I will go to the live demo, you need to be aware what kind of the licensing model we have. We today only have one model. It's quite simple. We calculate in the numbers of the active users that are attached to our environment. So it means that if a user will be not active, will not using the licenses, but data will be stays, we will not calculate this user for the future maintenance part. Also, you need to be aware that the shared mailboxes are included. So it means we do not calculate them into the licenses that you need to. And of course, shared mailboxes are protected as well. There are two options. There is a monthly payment, so it's kind of the subscription, and there is a perpetual, so you need to purchase for a year, 2 or 3 with the maintenance itself. Okay, so if you will look for any contact, you can easily go call us, or you can write the email on the info or the sales Storware EU, or contact me directly via the LinkedIn page or the different social media. But let's go right now and deep dive the live demo. So I will present you the 5 steps that I already spoke on the presentation, how it looks like in a real environment. In this video, I will explain how to properly manage and use the KODO for Cloud, and I will also explain how the UI itself works and gives you the ability to play with the Microsoft 365 backup and recovery operations. So let's start to log in to the KODO portal itself. So of course I need the proper credentials as administrator. And here we start with the dashboard. So the dashboard always giving us several crucial information. One of the most important part is, of course, the user protection success ratio. So here we can see how many users we have. Here, the 90% of the overall users which are connected to the KODO for Cloud are right now in a protected status. 7 of them are not protected. We'll analyze them later on. On the top, you will see how many tasks were failed in the last, let's say, depends on the configuration, but in most cases we have 30 days. Why we can fail the task? We can have some problems on even the availability to the Microsoft Office 365 cloud. You should be familiar, if you play with the Microsoft 365, you should be familiar with the throttling case, where you cannot reach more than 10,000 API calls in a 10 minutes interval for each user. In addition, from time to time, we have service unavailable options. So you will see that from time to time, the task will fail. So the number of the total protected users, how many simultaneous tasks right now running, we have a 0, we'll change it later on. Total overall of the users, how many agents we have. I told you about that each time we're doing the backup, the agent or the several agent itself need to connect to the Microsoft 365 cloud via the Graph API. So if we need more scalable solution, if we have, let's say, a few thousand of the users, it's good to have the option to simultaneously use the different tasks in one agent, so we can scale up, adding the more threads into the agent. But the second part is to have a multiple agents that will be connected to the one KODO for Cloud instance. So here you can see that there are 2 agents. There is some differentiation between the dedicated and the shared. Dedicated is where you assign the agent to only do the job for this particular organization. It's more important for the managed service providers installation, when you would like to have dedicated SLA and dedicated services for specific organization. In most cases, when you're using the KODO for only your purposes, you don't need to assign, so you can use the shared agent like I do in this presentation. Of course, there are some trial. I have last day of my trial license, so no worries, it will work. And there is information about some data transfer. Let's see, in the last 24 hours, there are some restoration processes, there are some backups. So we can see that one of the backup window is between 9 p.m. and the next window, backup window, is roughly between, it should start roughly, actually at 4 a.m. You will see in the jobs in a second. But it gives you the information how many data were ingested in the last 24 hours from the Microsoft 365 to the KODO itself. Okay, so I told you about the 5 steps how you should start. So let's remind these steps. First one is the login. We are here. The next one is to come into the settings and add organization from the Office 365 that we would like to protect. So here you can see the 2 options, manually added and auto. Manually means that I need to go to the Azure portal, I need to register the KODO application, give some credentials, create a secret ID and put all of this information here. And the the most favorite and the easier option, but not always acceptable by the end users, is to just have a specific admin with the specific credential to do it in automate way. You can see here that I have a 3 already organization added to my demo. There is a Storware, Social Cube, and the Backup Monster IO tenant. So after I add, the synchronization task will start, so the validation. So when I put the data, the task started to synchronize, saying if my credentials are properly configured. If everything is good, in a good shape, I can see that the validation is completed. If I will have any problems during synchronization process, you will see that the validation status will be failed or in a different state. Okay, so after I added the users and the configuration, I need to go to the users tab and synchronize all of the users from all of the tenants that I already added. So here you will see that there is a task created. It should be first in a queue. It's running, so we have 3 different organizations, so the 3 different tasks. Each task saying, just give me the information about the latest users on the Microsoft 365. So sync these users and visualize these users on the users tab. So after I synchronize, all of the users should be visible here. So let's see all of the users are related to the Backup Monster IO tenant. So you can see that there is 25 users here. Some of them is already protected because I previously, before the demo, put the job. So they have a status protected. And if you will go to each users, you will see the different data that you can retrieve or download it directly or restore to the cloud itself. But about restore we'll talk later on. So we added the organization, we synchronized the users. The next part is we need to create and assign the policies. And the policy, of course, is the set of, so we should name it. So let's call it M365 demo. It could be a default, so every user that will be assigned and synchronized from the cloud will be automatically assigned to the policy. One of the policies need to be default one. We allowing the administrators to restore the data or not. It can be only the operator. And we set it up the retention. So you can see, let's say 30 days, or it can be 30 years, or the 30 months. So let's take the 36 months. So 3 years, and the number of the version that we would like to store. Let's keep 5. And the SLAs. I said before, the SLAs is what type of the service I would like to protect on this particular policy. So it means that if I will assign the user, I will operate and I will try to protect all of the services which are related to this specific policy. So let's save it. So you can see that the M365 demo is on. There is none users assigned to this policy. We can see created, we can copy, so based on the different policy, we can recreate it, we can edit or delete. So let's come back to one of the users. Let's grab this Alan Tucker user and let's reassign this user to the different policy. I will put the M365 demo. I will assign. So you should see right now that in policy there is one user. Okay, it's good. We can do it in the opposite way. So if you are going inside the policy, there is also the manage user option. So from here, you can add the specific users to this policy. So there are the 2 ways how to do it: from the policy itself, or from the users list. So we log in, we added organization, we synchronize user, we create the policy. So let's do the last step that giving us the option to automate protection for the Office 365 data. So this is the job type tab, and here we are creating a job called M365 demo for the presentation purposes. Let's call it daily backup. And here you need to assign this user. So later on you will have a schedule, so you will decide it when. But first you need to know which users will be assigned to this policy. So I will take the Tucker. So Alan Tucker will be assigned to these users. But keep in mind there is checkbox called auto select users. I like it because in most cases you will not handle multiple organization or multiple different domains that I have in my demo. So the easiest scenario is to put the auto assignment. It means that every user that will be synchronized in a daily basis from the Microsoft 365 cloud will be added to the policy and to this job. So the easiest scenario, one policy, one job, and use the auto assignment. Then you are free to go. That every new users that applied to your Microsoft 365 license will be added to your data protection policies. But in a demo, I will use and only choose the Alan Tucker here. Let's do next. Of course, you need to choose your time zone. I'm in a +1, so I will keep this one. And I'm decided when, on which day or each month or which day during a week I should do the backup. I select all days, so every day at 12 at 12 I will do the backups for this user. There is a summary, the name, the description, what users I selected for this job, and the days and the time frame when the backup window will start. Okay, I created. We can see where will be the next execution. I will not wait. I will just start right away this task. So I'm not waiting for the backup window. The Alan Tucker should be right now. The information should be sent from the server to the agent saying, hey, there is one guy that you should protect. His name is Alan. So you should take this job to the queue. So you can see that when I click the tasks, you can see that running, queued, completed, failed, and canceled. So this is the different statuses, how the agent itself treating and creating the tasks. So the job says build and backup the Alan Tucker, and Alan Tucker has 4 different services that we need to protect it. We take in each services one time into the agent. So it means that if I will have more users, like a backup monster IO 25 users, let's start also doing some incremental backup. And if the policy is saying 4 different feature services included, it should be more or less roughly about 100 tasks assigned to the agent, because one user has 4 different services. So 25 users multiple by 4, it will give us 100 different tasks that will be assigned to the agent. You can see there is a 91 task, because I'm guessing it's already started and some of them are already completed, because maybe there is no changes since the last backup, so it's quite robust processing the options. Yeah, like you see here, it's already took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 jobs, and as I said, 91 plus 9, it's 100. So this is the exact number that I told you that the agent will take and running simultaneously, and it depends of our scale, let's say scaling point of view. we can configure the number of the different threads that it can work simultaneously using on the agent side. Let's refresh the view. Yeah, so you can see right now there are 5. I configured my agent to take maximum 10 simultaneous threads, so the 10 different users can be protected at the same time. On the dashboard, you should see that the only change right now, it will be in a running task menu. So you will see how many tasks are running at this point. So let's wait. So you can see right now that in the dashboard, there are 5 running tasks. So I can see that this task is related to the exchange. It's still, in most cases, I haven't changed since the last backup. So we need to just processing via the Graph API, compare the changes. So you will not see the huge progress here. And the user protection diagram has changed. So you can see that we have a 25 user that the tasks are in progress. So we change it in the blue. So you can see at different states: protected, unprotected, no schedule. So let's see the data transfer. So you already see that there is not much more data sent, but there were some restoration, the small restoration in the last hour. So let's wait and see how the task will run. Let's come back again to the running part in queued. So you should see that your queue is going down. There's 82 tasks, and of course more and more will be in a completion state. So let's right now analyze how to restore your data. It's quite simple. You just go into the users tab. You need to find the users like Alan Tucker. You go into the OneDrive, to the mailbox. So you're looking for the different paths that from the services that you already protected. So Tucker have a mailbox, calendars, OneDrive, but let's find myself. It will be faster to see. So you can see there is my email. So I will take my Storware email. There is a OneDrive. So you can see that in the OneDrive there is demo data, restore data, photo, video, 2018. Okay, so you can see here that we have, I'm in the Friday Dose 1 folder, and we have multiple files that I would like to grab and restore. So let's take one of them. Of course, you can see the number of the version if you have more. There are 2 options. You're forced to do in a full backup, or in other cases, the files were changed, modified on the OneDrive side, on the Microsoft 365 side, and we discovered this change and take the another version. So when you click and checkbox the specific file here, you have 2 options. Download. Download means I would like to get this data directly via my web browser to my laptop, or there is a restore, so coming back to the cloud. So let's take the restore. So here I can choose where actually this data should go. So it should go coming back to my user, but it could go to the different location, for example. So I can click the path, choose the version, like let's go to the restore, okay, and clicking the restoration. So the job was assigned to my user, and this data, actually this file, will come back to the OneDrive itself. The next option is to download the data directly to my desktop. So I just click the download, saying yes, and this data is already downloaded. So I open it. So you can see there is one of the conference room in a Samsung. So this is actually the data that I just restored from the Office 365. Okay, Of course, you don't need to go to the individual files. You can grab all of the folders, or you can grab everything, so you can manage the full restoration from the user perspective. Okay, so also the important part is the point in time feature. So you can see the calendar. We can come back to the specific date. There will be some situation when you don't remember when you actually modify the files or which file actually where they are. So you just can remember that, okay, I should come back to the restoration before some data loss occurrence or even the ransomware attack. So you just showing the specific date, and you can list all of the data and restore this data based off this list. Here I scheduled the restoration of all files into the users. So this task will execute all of the restoration. Of course, only the deleted files will be restored. It will not double the mailboxes or double the files on the source, on the target, like Microsoft 365. Okay, so I explained you the scenario how to properly configure it and manage your KODO for cloud environment. So please keep remember this 5 steps rule that we always advising to our customers. So log into the portal, create organization, so add the configuration, synchronize the users, create the policy, assign users to the specific policy, and create the job to make the automation for your let's say everyday planning backup session. So thank you. If you will have any questions regarding the KODO for cloud functionality or the further steps that we are planning in the later releases this year, please do not hesitate and contact us. That was a Storware Academy, and that was a KODO for cloud presentation and the live demo. Thank you.